Hi, welcome. So, you've learned a lot of interesting things in Power BI so far. You've looked at the Power Query, Power Pivot, and you've built some visualizations, looked at slicers, and how to do things like conditional formatting. So, in this video, we'll be trying to answer a fundamental question, which is which visual should I use for which purpose? So, there are times you want to use a pie chart or you want to use a column chart and you're a bit confused when is the right time to use which one. So in this video, we are going to look at the most common charts that you would be using and you try to understand when to use them so that whenever you want to create your visual, you know the right one to choose based on the information or the story you want to tell to your audience. So let's just go straight to the computer and view these visual types that are most commonly used in Power BI. So here we are. We are using the same data set we've been using throughout. So I'll leave a link for you to get this data in the description of this video. So you can always go there and get the same data. And there are already some relationships that have been created here. We did that in an earlier video. So it's always good to go back and check so that you can be able to have these same relationships working. Otherwise, there might be some things we want to do. And if you want to try to simulate them, you will not have the same results. So just check out the previous videos and get your data in line because there was also some cleaning that was done before we got to this step. So that's that. Now, let us go to the report view and look at most common data types that you would encounter. So the first one, which is the most common, is the card. So here it is, the card. I'll just click on it here. So if this is our data, most of the time you would want to just drop aggregate values like total values, like what is the total revenue. So these are top line values that top management will most likely want to see, and maybe they have it at the back of their head. Okay, this revenue totally we made about 5 million, and then maybe what are the total units sold. So I can still drop it here. Then I convert it to a card. So what are the total units sold? 1 million total units sold. So these are the top line figures that you use to do your card, and most of the time the card will be at the top because it's usually the first thing that your audience will want to see, and then the rest of the details down here. So it's very useful. Now the next one you would want to talk about is the column chart. So imagine you have some data. Let's say you have a table like this, and in that table you have a date. Those are your dates. Then you also have your revenue. So that's revenue. And then you have maybe something like cost. That's your cost. So you want to use a column chart to be able to compare the evolution of one or two variables over time periods. So it's mostly you don't use it for more than maybe 3 variables because it can get like very cluttered and you might not be able to see clearly the trend. So let me just show you. So if, for example, we choose this chart here, so we are just able to see that in 2019, this revenue was about 1 million, and then it went up to about 3.5, 3.6. Then we also had cost, maybe about 400, 500. Then it went up also to maybe about 1.4 or so. So it just gives you that evolution of 1 or 2 variables over time. So it's not good to have like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here because you'll not be easy to be able to trace here, then jump 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 before going to the next level, jump 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And at times that's when the line chart will be more appropriate because it also measures time, but it's very appropriate for that when you have like more than this number of variables, which we are going to see. So let's look at the next chart now. Very commonly used is the pie chart. So here you have your pie chart, and then you see, for example, let's say you had data that came in this form. You had a table it came like this. So we say we wanted to see staff sex because the pie chart is good to use it to show the proportion of a whole. So let me just go to sex. I'll click here. So we had sex here, male, female, and then we also maybe had revenue, their sales revenue, their performance. So now we want to see the proportion of the whole. That's when you get a pie chart very easily, so that it shows you in general the female perform 4 or 5 times more than the male. So you just get, there's a whole, our whole company is made up of male, female, then want to know which portion or which proportion of our revenue is coming from the males, which proportion of our revenue is coming from the female. So this is exactly what you get from the pie chart. So it's not good to use it to show evolution over time. Evolution over time would be easily seen through the line chart or the column chart that we've seen before this one. So let us go now to the line chart and take a look at it. So if you had some data, again, you had a table like this, then you had dates, and also you had maybe cost, revenue, cost, and even many more. Maybe there were so many things, profit, unit sold, so many different things that you would want to see the evolution, because you get a line evolution over time. So if, for example, you wanted to get a line chart, so with your dates here, it will be easier to get something from the quarter, so that you can easily see maybe how it is performing, or the month. So you can see that line aspect, it started from here, the cost started from here, went down, then it went like this, then it's going up. So it's going, it has an upward trend, but it's like going up, down, have some cyclical pattern here. So you can also see that it goes like this, then it goes up. So the line chart, you could have about 10 many lines here, and you'll be able to just detect the color that you want, and then you follow through and you see, is it generally going up or is generally going down. So that's why the line chart is very good to track the development of one or more variables over time. So, and you cannot use it to show parts of a whole. It will not make sense to show parts of a whole. Parts of a whole will be seen either with the pie chart or maybe an area chart that is parts of a whole over time. So another common visual that you would see would be the scatter plot. So let's just say you had a table of data like this, and you had the date, and then you had, again, let's say cost. You wanted to see what is the relationship between cost and maybe units sold. So here, if I pull it here, you would see that you have the date, you have the cost, and then you have the unit sold. So you are trying to see what kind of relationship can I get from that. So let me just go here, get it like on a monthly basis. So here we can take this down, then we get that on a monthly basis. So here, so you can see that over time there's been a positive correlation expected. The more cost, the more we invest, or the higher the cost, the more the units sold. So it's like we put in more money to sell more. So we see this positive relationship here. So you can see that with the scatter plot, because it is there to show you the pattern or the relationships between two variables, the cost variable and the unit sold variable over time. So you do not use it to show time evolution of variables that are not bi-dimensional. There must be two things. There's one on the y axis and one on the x axis. So these are the most common types of data that you would see. And you can also see that you have things like the maps. So if, for example, let me look for customer, and then I go to customer country. So one of the interesting things of Power BI is that it's already detected the names of the countries, and it's able to show me already where the countries are located. So as you can see here, you already see a map of your countries here. So you could decide to say, I want to see maybe units sold, or you could decide to say I want it as a bubble size. So units sold here. So it's showing here that the bigger ones are around Cameroon, North America, small ones are here. So it's an interesting chart too that you see automatically as I drop the country column here, it just detected the country names, and at the same time it created a map of the country for you. So this is also a chart that you might use. And then another interesting one too is a Q&A. Like I mentioned in introduction to Power BI, you can ask questions and then you're going to get some answers. So it's like, what is the total revenue by product? For example, if you run that, you see that it gives you something like this. Let's just say by product, by country, or by customer already. Yeah, so let's just take by customer. Then you get something like this, and then you can always come here and adjust it to how you want it to look like. So these are very interesting visual types that you just need to understand how they work and be able to improve on your visualization. Donut chart will almost be like the pie chart, and then you can also use Python script or R script to be able to run your visualizations through Power BI. Maybe link them to your Matplotlib or your Seaborn. So there's really lots of things you can do in terms of visualizations with Power BI. So start with the most common ones that I've shown you, and from there you can always build on your knowledge. So I hope you've been able to see the most common visualizations that are used, and you know now how to use them to make your reports very, very outstanding. See you next video. Wish you good data luck.